Hi, everybody. This is Kate Gallinat. I am one of the parent liaisons with our parent team. It's so great to see you all logging in and seeing your faces. We love that you have all come tonight.
And welcome, and thank you for being with us tonight. If you haven't already done so, please take a moment and type your name, the parent's name or caregiver's name in the chat, and your child's school. We are so excited about tonight's session on creative summer learning. It was great to meet you this week when you picked up the backpack. We really appreciate you taking the time to do that. It was so wonderful to put faces to names. My name is Kimberly Peterson, and I'm going to be joined by Kate Gallinat. She's already introduced herself. We've kind of been your early childhood session host this year in this virtual world. Kate is going to get us started tonight with a quick poll about your child's toy preferences.
Okay, everybody. So thanks again for joining us. Tonight, we're going to take a quick poll. Now, this is a feature that some of your little ones have used or will be using in the classroom. So we just wanted to kind of try it out tonight with our families. If you are on a laptop or a desktop, this is what you do. You're going to go to the Google Meet that you're in and look in the right corner at the top right-hand corner, and click that shapes icon that you see. It's the activities icon. Go ahead, click that, and your second option is polls. Click the word polls, and then you should see our next question pop up. What would your child choose? Okay, and you have some options here. Toss a ball, build with blocks, explore a book. And then go ahead and click vote. Now, don't worry if you're on a cell phone or you are maybe on a different device and can't find it. No big deal. You can type your answer in the chat if you like, or you can just skip it and wait to see what others say. No worries. But this is a neat feature they're using in the classrooms, and we just thought we'd try it out with our families tonight. Well, I know for me, my son's first preference would be build with blocks. We have Legos all over the house. He's a builder, and I know that's the first thing he would choose. Kimberly, what do you think yours would have chosen?
I have a boy and a girl, and my daughter, when she was in kindergarten, she absolutely loved books. She would bring them to me. She treated books kind of like toys. She'd bring them to me and want to look through them, not necessarily read them, picture walks and just talk about the pictures on the pages, but it was always a book that she would have picked for sure.
Awesome. So it just really depends on the child here, which one they're going to pick first. So I encourage you to, I'm looking at the results here. It looks like blocks is winning right now. I'm pretty close. And it also looks like you found the poll, so that's awesome. It's just a neat feature you'll see happening in the classroom to get some feedback. I want to encourage you that all of these items here can be used to support classroom learning, to support kindergarten curriculum. And so that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, are ways to use these simple things that our kids are drawn to support classroom learning. All right, so let's get into tonight's goals. We want, at the end of tonight's session, we're really hoping that you will understand the meaning and importance of oral language development. Maybe you've heard of this term before, maybe not, but it's really important for pre-writing, pre-reading, and math skills. Okay, and then next we want to explore ways to grow oral language over the summer using the materials in the backpack. So pretty simple goals, but I think you're gonna hopefully find some really useful things, some creative ways to support what's going on with our kiddos at school. All right, so that first one we went over, what is oral language? This is simply speaking and listening. So it's not too complex here. It's family conversations, dialogues you have together in the car. I know my kids love to chat away on the way to school, asking questions and listening to answers. Sometimes that's the hard part, actually taking time to listen to the answers, making comments throughout the day, And of course, we always want to reiterate, this can be in any language, whatever your home language is. It's that language at home, speaking and listening.
Thank you, Kate. So as Kate just shared with us what oral language, kind of what it is, what the definition is, I want to share with you why it's so important. Developing oral language through those conversations, dialogues, asking questions, and listening to answers, these all increase your child's vocabulary development, problem solving, and their comprehension skills. These are the building blocks for literacy and math. Increasing oral language helps children become successful readers and confident learners. A solid oral language foundation helps children become strong communicators. For a child to be able to express themselves and understand others, these skills, they're so important for their social and emotional health. So now let's look at some ways that we can talk together with our kiddos.
Perfect. So if you've been with us in some of our sessions this year, I think you're going to find these strategies, these talking points to be really familiar. I hope that they kind of ring a bell from our past sessions. So when we talk about oral language, we're talking together. There's all kinds of ways to do this. But a few things to focus on are to label everything in the room, on the page, outside, all the time. This can be objects you see, people you see, anything at all. And next, describe. Describe an easy way I like to kind of expand this some is to think about the 5 senses. Ask your kids, what do they see? What do they smell? How does it feel? Okay. And if you can, how does it taste, right? I'm not sure anything in our backpack goes with taste, but that's a fun one. What size is it, right? Describe the size, the shape. You can see patterns. Okay. These are all ways to describe things. Compare, make comparisons. What's the same and what's different? Ask those 2 questions. What's the same? What's different? And stop and listen to those answers. And finally, ask questions, but more specifically, open-ended questions.
Yeah.
Sometimes as a parent, I know I have 3 kids, I want the right answer. So I'll ask a question that has a right answer. But I know that our reading specialists and other educators tell us those open-ended questions where the kids have a chance to think and talk are really, really important, especially at this age. So the main point here is to talk and to use intentional language to support classroom learning. So take a moment, look at this picture we put on the slide. We have a family here playing with blocks, and this is a common scenario over at my house. There's always toys on the floor on the table, and just thinking about how can we support oral language development through play like this. What are we going to say? What are we going to do? Kimberly, what do you think your first thing you would do here?
I would probably, if I came in and saw my kids playing on the floor with blocks, I might say, ooh, tell me what you're creating. You don't know necessarily, they may be not building, but creating something you hadn't even thought of, and listen to their answers. I was always a question. I still am. My kids are much older and they would tell you I ask questions all the time. But I would probably be a question answer. Where did you start? What are you building? What happens if it falls? Just those fun questions that just gets them thinking. The hardest part, and I had a hard time too, is waiting for their answer and let them process and think about it. That's hard, yeah, as a parent, for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know my kids like to do blocks this way, and you can get all kinds of funny answers though. It's kind of a fun way to have a funny conversation. So,
well, and those are great blocks. I mean, you could ask, oh, I see you chose the blue as the base, and things like that, like label what they're playing with as you're asking them questions too.
Right. There's opportunities there for size, color, shape, to make comments and ask questions. Yeah,
absolutely. All right. Well, now is the fun part. Go ahead and grab your backpacks. If you haven't had a chance or even pulled out the items, no problem. Go ahead and start pulling some of those items out. When you do let your kids start playing with the items in the backpack, let them play. Okay, so we don't want this backpack to be a lesson for them. We want it to be fun. And we're going to show you different ways to use the materials. And your kids may not even play with them the way we're going to show you tonight. And that's just fine too. We want to make sure that you let your kiddos take the lead and do what they want to do with these resources. Again, we want this to be fun. We don't want it to be a lesson. Tonight, we're just going to show you some things, but the big part we want you to get is just talk to them while they're playing and while you're playing with them. Just talk, talk, talk. So tonight, we're going to start out with these tactile numbers. These are so fun, and we are going to ask a question about these tactile numbers. So if you can, go ahead and pull those out, and Kate's going to lead us in our next poll.
All right, so pull them out. They're very fun to touch. That was one of the first things, your kids may notice if they have an interesting texture. So let's go ahead and do our second poll for tonight. If you can do the same process you did a few minutes back, go to your Google Meet, your top right corner. You will see the activities icon. It's the shapes. Click there.
We don't have them.
And then that's okay if you don't have them right now. We will hopefully be able to get you your materials soon. And go ahead and click on the activities and click polls. It's your second option. And then go ahead and answer the question, how do the tactile numbers feel? And then click vote. You have 3 options there, sticky, soft, or rough. And now if you were on a cell phone or another device, don't worry about it. Again, put it in the chat if you'd like to answer the question. The reason we chose this question is it's a great one to ask your kids. There's all kinds of textures in the backpack. You'll find things that are squishy and rubbery and a little rough, a little sticky even. So get your hands in there and ask those questions. How does it feel? Okay. And then go ahead and click vote.
Thank you, Jackie. These are great. And I certainly wish we had had these when my kids were learning numbers. We're going to talk about a couple ways you can use these, but again, let your child take the lead. One thing you can do if your child is already, because all kids are at all different levels, of course, with numeracy. So we want to meet them at their level. We want this to be fun and not too challenging. So if your child already knows a lot of their numbers, as we're showing on the slide, a fun activity might be to have them close their eyes or to even blindfold them if they like that, and have them trace the number with their finger and ask them, can you tell me the number? How do you know? And what number comes next? Those are those questions that we're talking about that supports oral language development. Now, if this was my daughter, she wouldn't have wanted to touch these. This would have bothered her, and that's fine too. You can line them up and put them in order. You can ask them, can you find your age, and have them identify that card, or maybe their birth date. There's so many things you can do with these tactile numbers that help support numeracy at home, and it all ties back to classroom learning. But again, don't get ahead of your kids. Don't make it a lesson. Make sure it's fun. And it's just a great time to just practice numbers with them. We would love to hear from you. You guys may be like, oh, I've got a great idea. I know what my child would like to do with these. And we want to hear that. We have members of our parent team. They are ready and wanting to chat with you. We also have some members with us tonight that speak Spanish. Please don't be shy and type away any ideas that you may have around using these great tactile numbers. Okay, the next numeracy thing in your backpack are these counting bears. These are some of my favorites. Kate and I have talked about this a lot. They fit in our hands perfectly, and for some reason, I find them really fun to hold. I don't know why, I just do. It's kind of like a fidget spinner for
Yeah,
me.
they're very fun. I agree. Whenever you mention them, whenever we're looking at this stuff for you guys, I pull them out. It's a little party here on
Yeah, it's just something about them.
Yeah.
And you may find yourselves doing the same things.
Yep.
But this is just another numeracy learning resource. Kids usually call them counting bears. They use these a lot in the classrooms, and they're used for sorting and grouping and counting. They start out small in groups of 2 and then move on to groups of 5. But tonight, we want to show you something different to use with these bears. Just another idea to do with them. And that is to do patterning with them. You can have your child line them up, ask them to line them up any way they want to, and you may find out they're naturally make a pattern, and ask them. I see a red bear, as you see on the slide, a yellow bear, and then a blue bear. What comes after the blue bear? Patterns start simple. Don't make them too complicated. Start simple, let your child take the lead, and you can make them more complicated as their confidence builds. But patterning is a really important skill that they want your kiddos to have by the end of kindergarten. They want your child to be able to not only create a pattern, but also recognize a pattern. A lot of times in classrooms, they'll do what are called movement patterns. Kids love these. Well, they'll be like stomp, stop, clap, stomp, stop, clap, stop, stop, clap. And they do that a lot in line. And it's just reiterating patterns for a child, because again, that's a really important skill. I know I didn't really focus on that when my kids were young. I honestly worked with them with counting and things, but I can't say I practiced a whole lot of patterning. So we just wanted to put that in your head. With these bears, they would be a great resource to do that patterning with. But again, let your child take the lead. They make patterns without even realize that they're doing it, and just pointing them out to them like, oh, I see you put 2 blue bears in a line, or I see you did 2 blue bears and a yellow bear. Just speaking that out, saying that out loud to them is so important. And they're not even going to realize that you're supporting their classroom learning while practicing patterns. Again, we would love your ideas. You may have seen these bears or think about patterns and think, oh, I do this. This is a great idea. Please type it in the chat. This is a time for us to share with each other. I know we're a really large group, so we really can't talk over each other. So chat's going to be our best way to work for this type of session with this large of a group. So now Kate is going to show us the next resource that we're going to highlight in the backpack.
Okay, everybody, the next resource you can pull out, or maybe you already have, are your foam letters. These are in foam sheets. It's a great opportunity to ask that question we had in the poll. What does this feel like, right? It's a fun thing to feel. It's great if you have sensory kids that just like to touch and have a good time poking things out. So that's where I'm going to start.
It's soft.
Is with, yeah, they're soft. Thank you. If you want to start before we even do anything with literacy, it is very fun just to poke these out. So if you haven't done it already, this is an activity you can do together. You can just poke out the letters. I especially like the E right here. You can put your fingers through them, feel the shape, feel the way you're going to write it. You could even put a crayon in there and use it like a stencil. So I know that sometimes us as parents, we want to get it all ready and have it set up and poke them all out. Right?
I would have been one of those. I would have all poked out and probably thrown the coolest thing ever away that you can do things with if I had like opened these before you told me that.
No big deal.
You. That's a great idea, Kate.
That's right. No big deal if you threw it away already, but it's a fun little puzzle if you keep it, and you can keep poking stuff out, and it continues to be a great sensory way to look at letters. So I just encourage you to take your time and make that an activity, just poking out letters. But another way, there's so many ways to use these, right? These are a great resource. Another way you can do this is to put letters in a foam, in a bag. Put the foam letters in a bag. You can pick as many as you'd like. You've got a set of uppercase and lowercase, but maybe your child's not ready for all of them. You can poke out the ones that you know they're successful with, maybe a few new ones, put them in a bag and pick one out, maybe close your eyes, pick one out and ask, can you pick a letter? Oh, you got a P. That's what our slide there says. You got a P. Can you find something that starts with a P? So maybe you're outside, the little girl has a pine cone, or maybe you're inside, you have a pony. So these could go in the car. You could look out the window, find something that starts with a E, or in the house. So it's an easy way to bring some literacy into your fun activities together. Don't worry about spelling out long sentences or even spelling out sight words yet. This is a fun activity to increase their awareness of our letters. And then most importantly, that last question, I don't think I mentioned it. What sound does P make? This is a big connection our kiddos make in kindergarten, that letters make sounds. So if you can extend it to that last question, that would be really great to support what they're going to be learning, or maybe they have been practicing already this year. Okay, so if you have any other suggestions here, please throw them in the chat. We learn from each other. I've got one that's just learned to read this year in my family, and we always go back through and read your ideas. So please, if you have another fun way you can use these, let us know. Okay.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you. Okay, the next item in the backpack that we're going to talk about tonight, this is a great thing to ask, how does this feel? This is the activity ball. Notice I didn't just say ball, I said activity ball, because there are so many things we can do to support classroom learning with this ball. My son loved to be outside when he was little, and so I always felt like I was kind of tricking him, because we would toss or kick, if it was a soccer ball, back and forth, and practice counting or practice the ABCs. And he never even put it together like, oh, Mom and I are actually working on something for school. It was just a fun time, him and I together. Like I said, we used to practice counting, and it was just fun. Well, we have got some ideas that besides that you can do with these activity balls to support classroom learning through oral language development. As you can see on the slide, we're labeling. So that also, before I forget, I want to be sure and mention this. If you've got other kids, it doesn't matter what age they are, have them join you. It's fun. It may not sound fun to them yet, but they'll want to join in, and it really is fun to sit and toss the ball, and or if you're inside, roll the ball and label what you see around you. Like this slide shows, they are outside, so they're looking around and they're labeling what they see. Trees, you could say a blue sky, white clouds, a rock, a mailbox, things like that, all while you're just talking, all while you're tossing the ball back and forth. Another thing you can do, which is really fun that kids like, is called categories. And depending on your child's interest, let them decide what kind of category you're going to do. But you could do colors, you can do bugs, you could do candy bars, you could do fruits, vegetables, family members' names, and you just toss the ball back and forth while saying things. And that just really supports oral language development. With this little ball, you're going to be increasing your child's vocabulary, which they're both pre-writing and pre-reading skills. And they're not even going to realize it. They're just going to think you're playing with them with a ball, and you're doing so much more. So as I was giving you some of our ideas, if you've thought of some ideas to use with this activity ball, please type it in the chat again so we can all learn from each other. And now Kate's going to lead us on the next resource in the book. In the bag.
Yeah, and I just wanted to reiterate what you said about this being great for multiple ages. I mean, I've got a 12, a 10, and a 7 right now. And so it's really hard sometimes to find something we can all do together, even for 5 minutes, right? It's very different ages. So all of them would enjoy a fun game of categories. And I know, especially in my house, they all love breakfast foods. So we go back and forth about what we had for breakfast: eggs, sausage, pancakes. It's very
You
fun
can just
for everybody.
go on and on. I actually, my first time with using an activity ball was actually with adults at a professional development. And that's what we did. We tossed the ball back and forth, and it just keeps you engaged. And anyway, it was a lot of fun. So I was really excited that we could add this activity ball to the backpack for you.
Yeah, especially for kids that like to get up and move and maybe don't want to do any type of traditional literacy like flashcards or sitting and reading. So great thing. Great for my little boy. Okay, so up next, we have our bilingual book you will find in your backpack. This is in Spanish and English, bilingual. I know we have lots of families from our dual language program joining us tonight. So this is a great opportunity to have a great book in both languages. So with our book, we want to encourage you to label, label everything that you see. It's great to point out the characters, the puppies, the setting, all the colors. You can describe anything you see. Now, especially 4, 5, 6-year-olds, they don't always want to sit down for 10 minutes even and read a book. So we know that that can be a struggle for some of our kiddos. It's normal, don't worry. Our goal here isn't to make it from page 1 to the last page, sitting quietly, but more just to have a great time enjoying a book together.
And this is a fun book, Kate, with the puppies. I mean, you can use it to support numeracy. You can count the puppies. We really wanted a book that would keep your kids engaged, whether they like to sit and read a book or whether they just like to look at a book. We thought this would be a fun book to have at home with them. Yeah, that's right. Every child's different. I have one that would have sat with me and maybe even read it to me, and then another who had no interest. So just go with your child's level and interest. Another thing you can do here is to compare. There's all different kinds of puppies in the book, so make those comparisons. Just some prompts that you'll see here, some things you can say are on the slide. What do you see on the page? I see 2 puppies with black and white spots. You can make a comment about what you see. How are the puppies the same and how are they different? Now, remember, you can read either language. All languages are important for oral language development. So if you are a Spanish-speaking family, go with the Spanish side. That will be wonderful. And your goal here is to not finish the book necessarily, but to have a good conversation. Yes. All right. Up next, we are continuing on to another item. This is one of our last items. Oh, but a big one, Kate. These are a fun one. This one is a fun one. I know it's the first one that my son Charlie would pull out right away. Are these slotted shape builders, excuse me. They look like this. You've probably seen them. My picture there on the slide. Lots of shapes and colors. This is a great item you can use to do the labeling. You can label the shapes. You can name the colors. But most of all, you can ask open-ended questions. It's a great way to say, where did you start? What are you doing next? What do you think it will happen if we add another? Maybe it will fall. What do you think? And just leave some time for an answer too. I know some of these items are really fun to mix together. I have these little bears in front of me. I know my daughter, the first thing she would do is make a little house for the little counting bear. So you can have a good time putting these together, asking those open-ended questions. What would happen if? What can we do next together? So great fun tactile thing you can do to reinforce oral language development. In this case, both literacy words and numeracy and math concepts here, like shapes and edges, right? There's all kinds of things you can do. So please, we know you also have
lots of creative ideas. Please continue to let us know if there's a way that your child might use these that would help all of us as a community maybe think of something else to do. Yep. All right.
Well, thank you, Kate. Those slotted shape builders, things have come so far from when my kids were little. My son would have loved those, and you can, like you were saying, do so much with them, and they're such fun colors. So it's tonight, true. Kate and I modeled different activities that you can do with the items in your backpack. But again, oh, please hear this more than anything. Let your child take the lead. Don't make this a sit-down lesson. We want it to be fun. And what we want you to do is just have intentional conversations with your child about these items. One thing I almost forgot to mention, I just saw somebody was looking through it, one of our parents, so thank you, is the awesome activity calendar.
I was just about to pull that out, Kimberly, because I know that for me, like I said, I've got a full house over here of kids. I in a month, I might forget something I learned in one of the sessions I attended. I know that we have busy end of the year. So maybe you'll pull out this backpack in June and wonder, you know, maybe I need a couple more ideas. This calendar, it's bilingual, Spanish and English. It's full of suggestions you can do at home. I know it has these little check squares that can be fun.
I would have loved the check square. My daughter would have. She'd been like, oh, what new activity are we going to try today? And we would do it and check a box. My son wouldn't have even probably wanted to look at the calendar and just create his own ideas. But it's just a great reference.
That's right. And if you have one that loves to kind of see their progress and take a marker, check it off, it's a fun way to have an activity, just a short something you can do together that does support classroom learning and the things they're going to be continuing next year. So great resource. Don't lose it.
Yes. Thank you. One of the parents, thank you. I saw that calendar come up and I was like, oh, can't forget to mention the calendar. That's it will be a resource that you can use for sure this summer of new ideas. So again, please don't overthink this. Don't overcomplicate it. Just talk to your kids. And a great way to start is with labeling, describing, comparing, and asking those questions. That's all we want you to do. And you are going to be supporting your child's learning this summer and getting them ready for school next year, just through talking to them. We'd also love for you to follow us on social media. We have Facebook and Twitter. Be sure and tag us this summer and things you may be doing with the items in your backpack. We would love to see that. Also, be sure and check out our website for future, but also our previous sessions that you might have missed. They're available, they're recorded, so you can use them anytime as a resource. They're going to be there along with any updates that we may have for you. So thank you so much for spending your time with us this evening. We certainly enjoyed spending our time with you. We've been so excited to share this with you. We hope you all just have a wonderful summer, and we're going to look forward to seeing you again this fall. So have a good night. Thank you.
Yes, thanks everyone.